Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk My Hero Academia 187. So this week, what do we got? It's mostly a battle chapter. So like it usually happens with battle chapters, there's not really much to talk about for the actual battle scenes because they don't give you much to talk about other than to say, oh, this is pretty cool. This one does pack a bit more subtext. Or is that the right word? Anyway, it packs a bit more stuff though, because we have the first 6 pages being dedicated to the Endeavor Redemption Power Hour, and then after we go through that, we have just Endeavor dealing with the Nomu, and then the showcase for Hawk's quirk, along with one panel that I thought looked kind of menacing for the guy, but is probably okay in the long run. Overall, I think it's a good mix of a chapter, like good stuff for Endeavor, I guess, and then good stuff on showing off Hawk's quirk, and then good stuff on Endeavor decimating a building with its really cool firepower. And of course, the action pieces for this chapter were pretty cool. The shot of Endeavor getting thrown through the building and then just ripping across the building, I thought were excellent shots. When you consider that a person is making these shots in less than 2 weeks, it is pretty freaking badass to know, or not a person, but a team of people. It's pretty freaking badass to know that they can like put this kind of content out week after week. So it's always worthy of applause when you get these really cool badass shots. So what I want to talk about this week, well, definitely let's talk about the quirk first. Let's talk about Hawk's thing. His, depending on the translation, Manga Stream had adamantine wings, I think, and then Jaimini's box, or however you pronounce that word, they had the Mighty Wings. Overall, I think between the two translations, Mighty Wings is probably less liable for copyright infringement. I think Mighty Wings probably works out better. That said, it was pretty much what we were talking about last week. Hawks does have control over every wing, apparently. So, or not wing, every feather. So that's pretty freaking cool, right? So now this is an issue of how is he setting up the control of the feathers? Although I think from the description that we got, it does seem like the feathers are individually controlled in real time. So that pretty much the distinction would be if they weren't controlled in real time. Once the feathers set on a course, they would do the course, and if like they couldn't interact with the object properly, it'd just be pretty much like a giant glitch that would occur if you were programming a route for a character to move within a video game. Well, just like if the conditions aren't there, it looks like the character or the feather isn't doing anything. Whereas what they're showing us now, it does seem like this is dynamic, real time. He's controlling all the feathers. At least we have no reason to think that he's not doing that. Now, this is pretty cool because this is a power that is pretty much coming in at this guy's career. One of the things that the benefits of going through the hero schools is that sometimes they'll end up giving your quirk a massive power up. And so far, the only character that we have from UA that is a great example of the UA curriculum is Sun Eater. Because Sun Eater specifically went through all the qualities and characteristics that he learned in his time at school, right? I think his Chimera is pretty much the epitome of it. Because with Sun Eater's quirk, it came down to the kid having the ability to adjust the size of the sample that he creates. He had the ability to use multiple samples at once. So those were abilities that came into the mastery of his quirk. Over here with Hawks, I could definitely see Hawks starting out as a kid that could only launch a few feathers to go straight ahead, and then as he practiced it more, he got to a point where he can, from what it looks like, control hundreds of feathers all at once. I think in this case there were 76 injured civilians, so he pretty much controlled 76. I even said the number right here. The 76 individual feathers, which is pretty impressive. I do wonder how that would make him land in terms of his intelligence score if we got a data book with his information in it. I think because of the sheer capacity of his mind to be able to potentially control 76 items all at once, I do feel that he would have to be relatively high. But that's, neither here nor there. That's just like a little comment here. All things considered, Hawks definitely makes for he's a pretty cool hero. His power is pretty cool. Like last week, I think I mentioned that, he can probably help multiple people at once. And here we see like he helps 76 people at once. Like this level of effectiveness is the kind of effectiveness I would expect out of someone who could end up with the ranking of the #1 hero. Because like this is like Endeavor's power isn't really made for directly saving people. It's for removing dangers from people. Hawk's power though can be used for directly saving people. So I do feel like if this guy was a bit more open about wanting to get to the top, I do feel he could probably give Endeavor a run for his money. Overall, it's pretty cool to see him though. It's pretty cool to see the quirk. Okay, so next one to talk about, the big point here. Wait, do I want to talk about the Nomu? No, man. Like I don't really find the Nomu super interesting. Like it's just a creepy monster. Like I have seen nothing that makes me want to say, oh, like wow, that's super impressive. Like that thing has a personality. I will say the shot where Endeavor like decimates it, that's a pretty cool shot of the Nomu. But otherwise, not really feeling it. Well, I'm feeling it as much as I would for a villain. Moving into the next point, I guess. Speaking of Endeavor, let's just talk about his family. So this was pretty cool because we got to see a new character in all this, that being Natsu. Yeah, we're gonna call him Natsu. So yeah, Natsu, and that was pretty neat. And there's a nice little slice of life element to the beginning of this chapter. And I think the part that I like the most is Shoto's mom talking about Shoto always sending her letters. That was so cute. Oh, that's adorbs, man. Look how happy she is. Oh, that's cute, man. Shit, that's so cute. Okay, yeah, anyway, my gushing aside. Yeah, so I remember way back when the Endeavor Redemption Tour started. And this was back when Endeavor was watching Shoto. When Endeavor was watching Shoto deal with the little kids for his remedial lessons or supplementary lessons. At that point, I thought, like, okay, the author's probably giving Endeavor, like, his time in the light. Like, he's going to, like, try and redeem Endeavor. And at that point, I think, and I still largely, I was okay with it. Because, like, it's just the way that the narrative is going now. And that's whatever. I do remember there was one comment for that video that was just speaking, like, how Endeavor should not just be easily forgiven like this. That he should just not get off scot-free. And then that comment has a point. And I am so sorry, I forget the commenter, but I know it was a nice lady. It was a nice lady commenter that was pointing it out. Anyway, I think it was a nice lady. I think it was a nice lady commenter. Anyway, with these couple of pages, we pretty much end up in like a similar situation where, like, now the case is one of the siblings is having the problem with Endeavor, and then the mom is also pointing out that Endeavor actually cares more than we initially thought. And honestly, when she mentions that Endeavor's been coming to visit her and that he got her flowers, I thought that was like a nice note. But at the same time, as much as I want the Endeavor redemption, I do feel, for the sake of justice, the man should be held liable for something. And the reason, this is tough because so far, the only real offense that I saw that this guy did was that he was a stress to be around, which you can't really charge in court. And then the one time he hit Shoto. And even that is so unclear that it's really hard to try for emotional abuse. I think usually it's really hard to try for someone for emotional abuse, such that, like, in the Endeavor situation, while I do think that there are some physical things that he could probably be held liable for, it'd be really hard for him to actually get any kind of justice out of this. So if you were to say that the mom is largely a victim, like, we're not gonna go really far in any kind of Endeavor punishment type thing if she herself is feeling that Endeavor can still be redeemed, right? Like, she's one of the victims. If she's okay with the things that happen overall, it's not gonna happen. And then you have to like keep in mind like the author's also pushing for a hard redemption for Endeavor, right? When you have this page of this guy's like we're being told that he is facing his problems head on, you know the author has no real intention of making Endeavor go to court or anything else or anything at all. Like again, I do feel like this character could probably survive, and you know if he were to go to court and have to like fess up to the things that he's been responsible for, I think that would be reasonable for the character. But just at this point in time, I don't see him actually going there. And then the mom herself is a shaky testimony, I think, too, because she's compromised. She burnt her son. You'd have to be like, if there was a proxy, the defense would just destroy the mom's character. Now on to Natsu. He's the one that if the author really wanted to mess up Endeavor's like public image, he could have Natsu pretty much go out and leak information to the press. The press would eviscerate Endeavor if they had the opportunity to. That said, Natsu kind of points out one of the problems with this. And, you know, let's just read his lines, right? He starts off by saying society doesn't know anything. They don't know what he did to you or his kids. They don't know how he treated his family. He doesn't go on any talk shows after all. And then he like follows up with, I don't have any memories of him. As far as I'm concerned, he's basically a stranger. So like the problem here is that the dynamics within the Todoroki family are kind of interesting in that the first three kids, and I checked, we know of there being 3 kids, and then Todoroki or Shoto is the 4th, right? We know that. There's a daughter and 2 sons. And that's the information that we have on the wiki so far. Anyway, with the Todoroki family, we know that people like Fuyumi, she became a teacher because she felt bad about the way that she saw Shoto treated, right? That's one of her motivations. And then this kid, Natsu, is saying that he doesn't have any memories of him. That's because Endeavor pretty much did not give these kids time. The only one that got time was Todoroki. In other words, these kids were taken care of by the staff in the family, and they largely had a happy life. Everyone in the Todoroki family, aside from the mother and Shoto, had a really happy life. That's why this guy's first statement of he didn't know what he did to you or his kids is a bit like shaky, because no matter how you look at it, if someone was to argue them about their points, they would point out like, hey, no, you had a pretty privileged life. So it would take away some of the kid's ground if he was to actually try and take Endeavor on in any official capacity. That's why I think he would be better off just leaking information to the press. But if he knows that his mom is slightly against bringing Endeavor down, I don't see any repercussions coming back to Endeavor. And like with the Endeavor thing, I remember they were reading a theory one time that talked about if he was really as bad as it was making it out to seem. And honestly, I would like a better detail of the kid's history. I would like to know more, I want to know a step-by-step progression of how Endeavor treated Todoroki. Or sorry, how he treated Shoto. I want to see I want better information on that whole process. Because, definitely emotional abuse is in that relationship. But it's still really unclear. I think Endeavor's the kind of person that most likely isn't going to be getting his repercussions in any official capacity. He's not going to be getting it in court, but he might get horrifically beat up in a fight, and that might serve to be his physical punishment for his treatment of his family, right? But I don't know how people would feel about that. I don't know how the readers would feel about that. That you could argue that would be an injustice that's only being fixed by the story's narrative. I think Endeavor's one of the cooler aspects of everything here. But yeah, those are my just random thoughts here. I think it's interesting that we got to see how the kids think about this. But at the same time, Natsu is a biased party. And the chapter shows it pretty well. Between his two contradictory statements, he's a pretty interesting little point of view to have here. That said, it's interesting how this lady's been rehabilitated to this point. I want to see more of this. following up with the Endeavor family, I think would be worthwhile. I think it's really interesting, and I would like to see where exactly the story wants to take Endeavor. If Endeavor ends up dying, then, you know, he paid a price. But we'll really have to see. We'll have to see what the author wants to do with Endeavor. But right now, this guy is hard on the redemption path, and for some readers, you might not feel that he's earned it. Anyway, that was like the biggest topic for the chapter. Like, it was just those 6 pages because they gave us a lot of cool information. And I'm not gonna gush about how cool the fight is because I already mentioned it in the beginning. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it there. I think that's all I want to say here, and I'm just gonna leave you on this really suspicious panel of Hawks. Just because it's like, I don't know if I should trust this guy yet, and anytime I see a face that looks kind of scary, I'm gonna point it out. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let's call it there, and until next time, I hope you have a great day. If I forgot anything or I didn't know anything, let me know down below. And yeah, cool. Hasta la vista.